Alright, what's good? Facebook on YouTube. I said Facebook. What's good, YouTube? This is me again. This is my poem called Generation Z and Millennials. On this poem, basically, we talk about Generation Z and Generation Y or Millennials, however y'all prefer. Here's how it goes. A generation that were coming of age during the new millennium. A generation of Americans that remember when the U.S. was the number one nation, but now they see as adults, they see the fall of the United Nations. As millennials get older, there's a new generation of young people called Generation Z, a generation that's unlike its predecessor. The former can recall a time before the internet where the latter can't. Generation Z grew up in a world where technology became more than just a novelty, but a lifestyle, to the point where they can connect to different types of people with a click of a button. A generation growing up in a time of fear and doubt, where technology is something they can't live without. So where do I fit in? I was born in the year 1996. Some will classify me as a millennial, others say I'm Gen Z. This is how I define me. I'm too young to remember a time without the internet, but old enough to remember a world before smartphones and tablets. Too young to understand 9/11, but old enough to be around to be in elementary school during that event. Too young to remember the first generation of Pokemon, but old enough to remember when it was still in its prime. Too young to call myself a 90s kid, but old enough to remember when the early 2000s and how drastically different it is from today. I've seen so much has changed in this short time, since my short time on Earth, from my childhood to now. In conclusion, I'm not a true millennial or Gen Z, but rather the transition gen is how I define me. I can hang with millennials, but still also with some Zers, since we share some of the same challenges, since I share the same challenges they're facing now, and all I can say is wow. So that was the poem called Gen Z and Millennial. I really did this poem because I wrote this poem last summer in 2016, and it was at a time when I was looking up Personality Cafe, and I was hearing about the different generations, and like one of the things that I looked up a lot was Gen Z, and Gen Z, at the time, you didn't really hear much about Gen Z, last year, it was all about millennials and, all this other stuff, but after the election ended, a lot of people saw a shift of young people voting conservative, and that's when you hear a lot of people talking about Gen Z, and now Gen Z is like all over YouTube, like every day somebody's talking about Gen Z now. So I did a poem, so I'm kind of a innovator, I guess, in that sense, because I don't hear nobody ever did a poem about Gen Z, but it's a pretty interesting generation. Being born in 1996 again, I'm like in that cusp, generation where I can relate to millennials, but I relate to Gen Z also, because again, me growing up in the 2000s, I remember when Bush was president. I remember when smartphones were just a wet dream. I remember when you had the flip phones. I remember the Nokias. I remember AOL, MySpace, like all that jazz. Rap was like Snap, Pop, Lock, and Dropping. Like yo, like I go back. I remember when like Drake, Lil Wayne was just coming out. When Drake was just coming out, I remember when Soldier Boy was coming out, Chris Brown was coming out. I remember when Bow Wow was Little Bow Wow. So like I go back and like so I can relate to Generation Y in that sense, but I like Gen Z also being coming of age with smart technology with Facebook, and Twitter and Instagram. Like that was my high school years. But at the same time, me being 13 in 2009, MySpace was still a thing. People still use MySpace when I was a teenager. So like again, I can relate to both generations at the same time. So it's kind of weird. It's kind of interesting. Me being more 96 and me seeing these younger kids who weren't old enough to remember 9/11, who were still in diapers in the early 2000s, in the mid 2000s, when I was in grade school. I taken a PE class. Um, I'm taking a PE class, and like a lot of these kids are like born in 2000, 2001, 2002. So a lot of them are like a lot younger than I am. I'm like, dang, I was in grade school. Like this girl was like, I was only 2 years old when DS came out. I'm like, dang. I was playing video games when you were a fetus. I didn't say it to her, but like I'm like, dang. So it just shows that, as time progresses, you see a younger generation coming up. And like this generation, it's a very interesting generation. I really like Gen Z. I feel like I get along better with Gen Zers than I do millennials in a lot of ways because Gen Zers are more, you know, they're more, knowledgeable about the world. They're very conscious. They're very open-minded. They're very curious. It's just so different than what I see when millennials. Millennials is kind of like in their own little world. I mean, I know that's like kind of a stereotype about Generation Y, but like when I look at Generation Y and how they was coming up, because like saying me being part of both me being kind of being like in both generations, I kind of label myself as Gen Z, I kind of lean more Z. I kind of like in both generations in the way. So me going in high school, a lot of kids like, they didn't really care. They was just like, I just wanted to, I just wanted to focus on me, especially girls, and high school is just about girls and doing drugs with them. But when I look at Generation Z, they like focus, they have more ambition. Like 14, 15 years old, they ready talking about changing the world. So it's interesting. So it's awesome seeing that how I'm like a role model to Gen Zers and millennials. I'm like the baby of that group. So I just did that poem just to kind of give you guys an idea of where I stand as a 96 baby, and more. Stay tuned for more videos. Peace.